there, welcome to Inkquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with another fountain pen video. Today I thought I would catch up on some of the pens that viewers have sent me over the last number of months. I've neglected getting them on camera, and so my New Year's resolution is to get to some of these pens that have been in the hopper for a while now, but I have neglected to film. So I have a trilogy for you today, and they run the gamut from very exotic, interesting, custom-made pens to everyday writers to just very utilitarian pocket pens. From top to bottom, we have a Tega Snorkel, which is classified as a fantasy pen because you can create these yourself. It's like a modern vintage Schaefer Snorkel. And then we have a Platinum Plaisir in this beautiful emerald green, and last but not least, a Pilot Petite 1. All three of these pens were sent to me by viewers. The Tega Schaefer Snorkel was provided to me for review on loan from Bill Pemberton. Thank you, Bill. The Platinum Plaisir was given to me as a gift by viewer Copperplate69. Thank you very much, G. And the Pilot Petite was provided to me by Stephen Perez a number of months ago, and he's anxious that I would be using this. Well, it's a very interesting pen. We're going to look at all three of these. Let's start with the Pilot Petite. I will do an overview of the pen and then do a writing sample for each one. Let's start with the Pilot Petite 1. I was not even aware that this pen existed from Pilot. I was aware of the Pilot V pen, the disposable fountain pen, and I have a Pilot No as well. Really nice little pen. And I thought at first glance this looked like a Platinum Preppy. They certainly have the same kind of features, don't they? The same kind of plastic, but the Petite is named well. It's very small indeed. It has a snap cap, and then it's got these little bumps right here on the back of the barrel that make it post really nicely with a snap. No surprise coming from Pilot. Attention to detail like that. And it's got a nice thick section. I was very surprised at how nicely this pen fit into the hand when it's posted, because when it's capped, it looks like a toy. Let's take a look and see how big it is. There you go, 107.8 millimeters capped. But when you post it, it's 132.2, which is not too bad in terms of length. It has a very springy clip that's very usable, but you get the feeling that this is going to snap off if you pull it too hard. There's a really nice cap seal right there that seals that nib completely inside, and you can see that seal through the transparent body. This comes in a number of different colors. The current prices I'm seeing on AliExpress are around $5.50 US, which is not bad at all. You can get one in each color, and they each come with a cartridge, and of course they take Pilot cartridges. I'm not sure that you could eyedropper this pen. Like there's an eyedropper kind of hack that you can do with the Platinum Preppy. You add an O-ring and lots of silicone grease here. You can eyedropper this Platinum Preppy for a lot of ink. I've got the feeling, because these threads are almost identical to the Platinum, that you could probably put an O-ring right in there to seal that barrel off. It's injection molded plastic, but I don't see any holes in the barrel, so it's possible. Am I going to give it a try? No. Am I going to do a writing sample? Yes. And here we have the Pilot Petite 1. It looks to have some kind of a blue-green, azure blue ink in it. Pilot Petite 1. And this, I think, is like an extra fine. It's marked fine, but it's certainly a very fine line we're getting here. It's not very wet, and it's got a lot of feedback. Seven, 8. Use your numbers. A lot of feedback, very fine nib. Now, the cool thing is that if you don't like this nib, you can get yourself these V pens, Pilot V pen, and this one's in medium. This is a disposable pen, but it has the same nib and feed system. And these nib and feeds just pull out. Let's just grab this one and pull it out. Sometimes the first time you pull these out, a challenge. There we go. Pull that one out, put that aside, and see if we can get this one out. There we go. Oh, I got the nib off. There's the nib unit. Let's pull the feed out. The feed doesn't want to come out. Got some gripper material here. We'll try to pull this unit out of here. And we just push the V-pen nib in. A little bit of an inky operation because I did that hot, but we'll have to let the ink settle on that new medium nib for a bit because it's not gonna write right away. And you can squeeze some ink down by squeezing the cartridge. There we go. So squeeze some of that ink down through that long feed. There it goes. Might have an accident here. I'll put some Kleenex down. There we go. Get it right down through there. You see almost an entire cartridge emptied into that feed. And there we go. So now I have a Pilot Petite 1 with a medium. It says medium on it, but I'd say that's probably 0.5 millimeters, something like that. So a Western fine. So again, with the cost of these pens, you don't mind experimenting, but those nibs are interchangeable. Very cool. The Pilot Petite 1. Thank you, Steve. Next up, let's look at this Platinum Plaisir that I got from Copper Plate 69. It's like an upscale Preppy. So here's the Preppy. There actually is another pen between these two, and I've reviewed this pen. This is the Platinum Prefonte, and so it sort of fits between the inexpensive entry-level Platinum Preppy and the Plaisir. I really do prefer the Plaisir. Sorry, there's a lot of P's there.
And without that pledge pen, do you understand?
It has a snap cap. They take the same kind of nibs. So all three pens have the same sections and the same nibs. The only difference is that the Plaisir has an extruded aluminum, anodized aluminum color barrel and cap, and a really nice cap band and a metal clip that works really nicely. It posts really nicely. It's like an upscale Preppy. So if you like the section and nib on your Preppy, but you want something that is a little bit more elegant and less disposable looking than the other two plastic pens, the Plaisir is a really, really nice writer. And again, when you put that platinum nib to paper, you'll know what I mean, that you're getting a lot of pen for your very few dollars here. And this pen is currently retailing for about $17.50 US. I put a platinum converter into this pen, but it will take platinum cartridges as well, which are proprietary. Let's look at the Platinum Plaisir. This one in a beautiful emerald green, Platinum Plaisir. And this one is a medium nib, and it's more like a normal medium nib in that I'm probably getting 0.5 to 0.6 millimeters in thickness. So a Western fine to a Western medium. And this is a very smooth nib with that typical platinum pencil-like feedback. You almost have to write with a platinum to know what I'm talking about, because that is just like a pencil on vellum, but very smooth and nicely wet as well. And because I've got a converter in this pen, I can put any ink I want in it, and it right now has a Roshizuku Kujaku, which is a really nice match for this emerald colored pen. Thank you very much, Copper Plate 69, for sending me this pen. And finally, what I called the fantasy pen, because this is from the Tega pen company in the United States. I'll show the website right here, where they say the Tega pen company welcomes you to get the Snorkel R pen and vacuumatic gel pen. This is called a fantasy snorkel for all you vintage lovers out there. It says Tega pen company on the wide gold-plated cap band, made in the USA. Really nice clip. This one that belongs to Bill is a demonstrator, so you're seeing the snorkel mechanism right here. So let's take a look at that. The cap unscrews, and you see the 14 karat gold Schaefer Triumph nib. These are very famous. So all the guts of this pen are a vintage Schaefer snorkel, made in the USA, 14 karat gold, but the cap and the barrel are all modern acrylic. And of course, the way this pen works is you unscrew the back knob of the pen and the snorkel extends. And the idea from Schaefer, this is mid-50s, is you put just the snorkel into the ink. You don't have to get the nib covered in ink. You just push the snorkel tube into the ink, and pull the touchdown filler back, and there's a sack protector right in there, and there's a latex sack inside that sack protector. And when you push this down, it compresses that sack because of the pneumatic pressure built up inside. When that rod goes down to the end of the travel, there's a little escape valve right back here that lets all that compressed air out. The sack inflates inside that tube, and it sucks up ink through the snorkel. So I'm going to do that right now. Just dip it down, just the snorkel into the ink by itself. You hear that little psss, and you let it sit there for a moment, and the snorkel sucks up ink. And then all you do is screw that snorkel back down again, and there's no cleanup. You don't have to wipe this nib with any tissue, and that was the big selling feature for this pen back in the 50s. Of course, it's a fairly complicated filling system, prone to lots of repair issues. This came out just about the time that the ballpoint came out, and so this was replaced by the ballpoint craze in the 1960s, and so you didn't see these snorkels for very long. But a lot of us vintage pen lovers love these Sheaffer snorkels. One of the very best pens in my vintage collection is this 1960 Sheaffer pen for men. It is a snorkel touchdown filler with a beautiful imperial inlaid gold nib, and it works exactly the same way by unscrewing the cap at the back and extending the snorkel. This is full of ink, so I'm not going to do it, and it works beautifully. So let's give this modern incarnation of a Sheaffer snorkel a writing test. And we have a nice new page for our Tega snorkel. Call it the Tega Fantasy Snorkel, because they just don't make these anymore, folks. Certainly the guts they don't make anymore. So that is a Sheaffer Triumph touchdown / snorkel. And I'd say that's circa 1958, let's say. Something like that. And I'd say this is a Sheaffer fine nib, 14 karat gold. Beautiful writer. Nicely wet. These nibs were not known for having any flex to them because of the tubular nature of that nib, and there's a good amount of feedback, a good kind of feedback, not the scratchy kind of feedback. So I can see why the Tega Pen Company has called this the Fantasy Snorkel. It is a fantasy of a modern demonstrator with the vintage Sheaffer guts of a Sheaffer snorkel in it. How they obtain these vintage pens, I don't know, but the website shows that they're using a number of different types of acrylic, including the acrylic that has the diamond dust in it, and they look very interesting. I might have to get one of these for myself. At the moment, I'm writing with this one, thanks to Bill. Thank you, Bill. And thank you to Steve, and thank you to Copperplate69 as well. And thank you for watching this catch-up video with me here on Inquiring Minds. And that just leaves it for me to say, thank you for watching. Happy New Year 2025. And that's all she wrote.
I made this.